All right. So we are back, right? And I'm always happy to be back. I'm gonna start showing this at the beginning, just so people can kind of get a glimpse of what I'm trying to accomplish here. So the main show is Prophet Preaches. That's for God. Then we have Science and STEM, which is research in biology and psychology teachings. I eventually will split everything off into its own. We already have most of it for its own profit workout. We'll do live workout and motivations for the fatherless, helping fatherless people. We can do it for African Americans in America today, for the kids, because you got to make some great content for children. Profit business, business ideas and tips, honest and learning together. And then Black History Year, which is what African American, Native American history. Uh, I profit gaming, where I stream online. I still talk about God to help people playing the game still learn. And profit skating is just something I do because I can skateboard and roller skate. So that's just kind of a small entertainment for people that care about those type of things. Okay. The reason, one of the reasons I'm showing this is because not just so people can understand that I do more than one thing, but it's kind of tying into what we're talking about today, Black history, right? And of course, I don't mind telling our history for us and letting the people hear it, but we're gonna go and we're gonna listen to some videos today of what other people are saying about history, other races, and we'll fact check and look some of it up, and we'll go from there. Just looking for something. 1 second. Okay, no problem. So let's jump straight into this, okay? And I made sure to find them on Instagram so that they can be easily accessible to other people as well. So let's look at this first one, and let's see what they're talking about. And if there's anything we need to fact check or look up, we'll look up and we'll go from there. Okay.
Brought up the transatlantic. About 3 myths regarding African slavery.
Okay, 3 things misregarding African slavery.
The reason this is important is because if you've ever brought up the transatlantic slave trade to an American or European, often you'll hear things like, oh, Africans sold their own people, or things like, for instance, oh, slavery was always practiced in Africa. And often these comments are pretty much made to kind of justify the transatlantic slave trade because the idea is Africans were equally responsible for it. And I want to debunk that. So,
okay, and he wanted to debunk that. He seems to be European. So let's hear what he has to say, right?
let's look at a couple of things first of all. The first myth I want to talk about is the idea that Africans sold their own people. In the
He has something here that says the appeal has reopened a sensitive debate over the part some chiefs played in helping to capture their fellow Africans and sell them into bondage as part of the transatlantic slave trade.
It's actually quite laughable because, yes, obviously Africans did sell other Africans, but there was no pan-African identity at the time. Saying Africans sold their own people is not true because what was done is certain groups would capture members of another group and sell those people. Still absolutely horrendous, but saying that they sold their own people is kind of like saying when Germany invaded Austria or invaded Russia, Germany was invading itself. It was invading its own people because, you know, all these people are European. But of course, we recognize that Germany, Austria, and Russia are separate groups and that we don't use that kind of language. So why do we use it when it comes to Africans that are of many different groups? Africans did not sell their own people. They did not sell like their family members or friends or anything like that. They sold others from other groups, which is horrible, but that is just simply a lie that they sold their own people. The second thing
So I want to hear, if you're European or if you're African American, what do you think about what he just said? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know. I'll give my thoughts at the end.
Also want to talk about is this idea that all the slave trade that was being done by that the Africans were selling, all the slaves that the Africans were selling, was completely voluntary. And in the book Black Marxism by Walter Rodney points out that, yes, of course, there was a time period where different African groups were willingly selling slaves to Europeans, but at a certain point, when they tried selling anything else, cash crops or even light manufacturing, Europeans refused to buy these products because they didn't want any competition with their domestic markets. The Europeans pretty much imposed these unequal trade relations where Africa would have to continue to sell slaves even if they didn't want to. So, not all of this was done voluntarily. Often it was done under pressure in unequal trade relations between Europeans and Africans. And
all right. Do anybody have any rebuttal? Anybody have any kickback, pushback against what he just said? If you do, let me know. But so far, he sounds spot on. Everything he's saying is seeming factual to me.
The third thing I want to talk about is just this idea that, slavery was always practiced in Africa. First of all, not all societies did it. But the other thing is where slavery was done is never been done to the extent that slavery was done in Brazil or the American South. It was not hereditary, for instance, for the most part. It was not as grueling for the most part. Some slaves, for instance, could rise in rank and actually be able to buy their freedom. And again, slavery is horrible, but it was never, no African economy was as dependent on slaves as the so-called New World was. So there you go. Those are some myths I want to debunk regarding African slavery. Let me know if you've heard any other myths in the comments and what you think of this. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I think he's telling the truth. I'm saying just from my own research as well. Yeah. This is what, when I have these conversations, I say the same thing he says, and I'm happy that he's saying it. A European is also thinking and saying this as well, because to me, when this is proposed, for some reason, it doesn't hold enough validity. And I guess that's what I'm questioning here. If this doesn't hold validity to you, why? What is your reasoning? What is your logical reasoning for it? It's okay, we can hear it and have the discussion. So let's hop to the next video. Making good time here. We're making good time. Let's hear what she has to say.
Go on, you can check my video notes for the references I used to create this video. Generations of white Americans were raised with a story that made us feel like heroes. We learned about abolitionists, not about the banks that provided insurance on enslaved people. We learned about the civil rights movement, but not about the white mobs who terrorized black families for trying to move into a better neighborhood. Systemic racism didn't.
So I think, we can go here for a second. We'll go to AI for a second. So I want to look up two things, right? 1 second.
Just hurt black people know things white people don't. Before I go on, you can check my video notes for the references I used to create this video. Generations of white Americans were raised with a story that made us feel like heroes. We learned about abolitionists, not about the banks that provided insurance.
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Okay. So I wanted to look up a few things before we finish. Actually, let's finish what she said first.
On enslaved people. We learned about the civil rights movement, but not about the white mobs who terrorized black families for trying to move into a better neighborhood. Systemic racism didn't just hurt black people, although they were the ones that took most of it, but it also misinformed white people. And that pisses me off. It trained us to see unfairness and injustice as progress. That's why when black folks talk about redlining, medical racism, or why certain laws hit their communities so much harder, many white people are just confused, or worse, and probably more commonly, they're defensive. It's not just ignorance. It's conditioning. The system made sure we didn't see the whole picture, because once we did, we might start asking too many questions. White people need to hear the truth from people who live it. But that takes a toll on black people. They've had to survive what we've only begun to learn about. And it's not fair to put that burden on them. That's why I study, listen, and talk to other white folks. It's not about guilt, and it's not about blame. It's about repair. Black people already know this history. White people need to know it too, because it's our history. It's our history too. Silence keeps the system working in the way that is unjust. Don't be afraid. You should be mad about what was kept from you on purpose. Now you have the opportunity to learn about it and start organizing your life differently. I am not an expert, but I love learning. You can put my username into your search engine. Scroll down if you want to help me out.
So do y'all agree with her? Any Europeans, do y'all agree with her? Black people, I'm sure most of y'all might agree. If you don't, still let me know. But do y'all agree with her? Now I want to read off some things because of what she brought up. I want to make sure I listen to the rest of what she had to say. So let's kind of run down. I just used AI real quick to bring it up quickly. Okay, so let's read this. Several prosperous black communities in the United States were violently attacked and destroyed by white mobs. Now, when this happens, this is setting back generational wealth. This isn't something that's easy to recover from. No, this matters. This matters. But let's continue. Particularly during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Okay, these attacks were often fueled by racism, economic resentment, and false accusations. So, false accusations clearly is not our fault, but it's still our fault somehow. Economic resentment, which shouldn't be our fault, but still somehow was our fault. Fueled by racism, that shouldn't have been our fault, but still was somehow our fault. And here are some of the most notable examples. So, of course, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. This was known as Black Wall Street. If this was still around today, things would be totally different. But when you reset, like, I don't think blacks burned down Wall Street at all and reset it at all, right? That matters. That matters. But it says the Greenwood. Let's restart. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. This is known as Black Wall Street. The Greenwood district was one of the most affluent black communities in the United States. It was burned to the ground during the Tulsa Race Massacre, leaving hundreds dead and thousands homeless. Burned to the ground. And people dead and homeless. And you want them people to just conjure up more generational wealth. Okay, let's read another one. And this is just going over it briefly. It ain't even giving the full in detail. Rosewood, Florida, 1921. A thriving black town was destroyed after a white mob. So no, there shouldn't be no thriving black town, right? If we were monsters and we hurt each other and we don't care for each other. But a thriving black town was destroyed after a white mob attacked it following a false accusation. A false accusation, for some reason, would give them the freedom to attack and destroy entire towns built by people that didn't do something. So one person can do something and now you're burning down the entire town, restarting generational wealth that we're trying to build up. Okay? And then it says survivors fled and the town was never rebuilt. Never rebuilt. So that was a town where generational wealth was clearly flowing and now is never rebuilt. But hey, we just, do they teach this? Are we allowed to learn about this in Black History every year? Elaine, Arkansas, 1919. One of the deadliest racial conflicts in U.S. history, where hundreds of black sharecroppers were killed after organizing for better wages. You want better wages, you die. How about that? Generational wealth. You're fighting for generational wealth, we'll kill you off. Okay? Atlanta, Georgia. The Atlanta race riot erupted after sensational newspapers sensationalized newspaper reports of black men assaulting white women. White mobs attacked neighborhoods, killing dozens. Now, in today's time, Atlanta is like still kind of the mecca of where black people kind of can go and have fun and converse and do all of that. But we kind of getting the gist of the tear down here. I'm just saying, this matters. This is when, let's go, Springfield, Illinois. And it wasn't just in one place. This shows that this was all over the U.S. They were just burning it down. The hometown of Abraham Lincoln saw white mobs burn black homes and businesses, prompting the formation of the NAACP. So that is what even prompted it, because white mobs would just burn down your house and businesses when you're trying to mind your own. But I don't think that, from what the white lady is saying, they're taught this. We're not in school to learn about this. It's not an all-black school where we can teach this and teach what they did. Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898. A violent coup of white supremacists overthrew the elected biracial government, killing dozens and forcing many black residents to flee. Man, those black people are so evil, aren't they? They're just so bad. East St. Louis, Illinois, 1917. White workers, angry over black labor competition, launched a brutal attack that left hundreds dead and much of the black district destroyed. These events are a part of a broader pattern of racial violence and displacement. According to historians, African Americans were violently expelled from at least 50 towns and counties across the U.S. between the Civil War and the mid-20th century. Now, let's read this next part. We're looking at banks that provided insurance on enslaved people. That's what the lady said. And then I added another one. Colleges and companies that exist today offered a profit from slavery. Banks and insurance companies, right? These institutions either insured enslaved people or accepted them as collateral for loans. J.P. Morgan Chase. Historical records show that the predecessor banks accepted enslaved people as collateral and took ownership when loans defaulted. So, black people, how are you gonna, why you ain't got your own banks, and why you ain't got a bank like Chase Morgan? Bruh, did the records show that they built this off of enslaved people? I mean, I'm just saying, you got some slaves that we can... You got some slaves that we could build some banks off of. I'm just saying, this what it say. Let's continue. New York Life Insurance Company sold policies on enslaved people in the mid 1800s, profiting from their deaths. So now they up and they looking at us like, build your own bank, right? Why you can't do the exact same thing we did and just build your own bank without the slaves, I guess? Aetna acknowledged that it is insured enslaved people and paid claims to slave owners for their deaths. They paid claims to slave owners for their deaths. They got paid for the slave dying. Citigroup. Some predecessor institutions were involved in financial slavery. We got Bank of America. Inherited ties through mergers with banks that profited from slavery. And these are still around to this day. And they came up off of slavery. College and universities. This was, I put this in there because this was a great one to me. Many elite institutions benefited directly from slavery. Harvard University received donations from slaveholders and benefited from investments tied to slavery. So we sit here and say, oh, well, you didn't go to Harvard, or Harvard is this big grandiose school that you should be so proud to get into. Yeah, because it was built off of slavery. Hey, black people, why you don't have a school that you own that's like Harvard, that's a college? Well, we don't have the slavery to build off and build it off of people's back and slavery. So this you know how much money Harvard? How much, bro? Let's no, hold on. Let me look this up real quick. Okay, I need to do some research for a second. Okay. Let's see. Harvard 2025 ended with an operating deficit of 113 million on an operating revenue base of 6.7 billion. This deficit marks the university's first operating loss since 2020. So they just now losing some money. Okay, how much it's worth? How much? Valued at 56.9 billion. It's the largest in the world. $56.9 billion. And that's, let's read this again. Harvard University received donations from slaveholders and benefited from investments to slavery. And now they up 56.9 billion. How am I supposed to catch Harvard if I ain't got no slaves? Do they teach us this? Do they teach us like, oh, come to Harvard. And just so you know, we built this off of the back of slaves. Hey. No, they don't. Yale University had donors and leaders who profited from slavery. Some buildings were constructed with slave labor. Yale University. We seen Harvard. Let's look up how much Yale costs. How much is Yale worth? Yeah. How much? Please, give me an answer. No, give me the school. Why they ain't do it like last time? Oh, okay, you wanna do it that way? Okay, look, we'll do it like this then. We'll just go right back. We'll just go right back to Copilot.
Right there.
We'll do it this way. I need the information. No, total value. There it is. Yale University, look, is approximately 41.4 billion. Let's read it again. Yale University had donors and leaders who profited from slavery. Some buildings were constructed with slave labor, and now they up 41.4 billion. How? Like, how am I supposed to catch him without slaves? Please. Princeton University. Oh my God, this is such a prestigious school, right? Oh yay. Princeton University, its early trustees and benefactors were slave owners.
Right there.
Slaveholders. This is what they did. Slaveholders. Look. Okay, look, hold on. No, hold on. Let me type that. What about Princeton University? Let's see Princeton University. Princeton University stands 34.1 billion. We gonna keep doing research. Billion, bro. Do you see what I'm saying? 41. Bro, they running it, and its early trustees and benefactors were slaveholders. Brown University conducted a major study revealing its founders' deep ties to the slave trade. How? Slave trade. Okay. Look, hold on. No, hold on. We gotta get the numbers on Brown. We gotta get the numbers on Brown. How much is Brown worth? 8 billion. 8 billion up. It went up from 7.2 billion the previous year. Brown still making money. They still running it up, and they run it up because what? It said conducted a major study revealing its founders' deep ties to the slave trade. How am I supposed to catch Brown University if I don't go get a bunch of slaves? That's what I'm saying. Georgetown University. Let's see. Sold 272 enslaved people in 1838 to pay off debts. Now offers reparative scholarships to descendants. What? Where? I need that. Where that's at? Where? So we can go there free? Is that true? Where? No, hold on. We gotta look that up after this. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Let me see how much they worth. Okay. No. We gotta see this. Hold on. What about Georgetown University? How much is they worth? They done ran up how much? Let's see. No, where's total value? $3.6 billion. 3.6 billion. Look, bro, they done made. Now they giving us a little scholarship. Bro, you done ran up 3.6 billion and now you giving me a scholarship? Man, hold on.
Right there.
No.
It was a nightmare.
Hold on. Let's see what it say. It awards $400,000 annually to projects benefiting descendant communities. Learn about the inaugural recipients in future application rounds. 27 million reparations commitment. Georgetown and the Jesuits pledged 27 million to the Descendants Truth and Reconciliation Foundation, including financial contributions and land donations. The university are funding scholarships and racial healing programs through the Descendant Foundations. I'm sorry, I don't like this. I don't like this. What? No. What do you mean? So, first of all, if you ain't going to their school, you can't even get their scholarship. That's what I'm hearing. Second of all, man, this ain't going to us directly. This going to some Truth and Reconciliation Foundation. I ain't never heard of them. I'm talking about me. I ain't never seen any black people. Y'all ever seen this corporation come to you telling you that they giving you money back for how they did your people? Nah. And 27 million. See, yeah, you look. I'll give you 27 million back too. You know why? Because I have just ran it up with 3.6 billion. Well, like if I give you 27 million in scholarship money, you know how much money I'm still gonna have? 3.6 billion. I might somehow, if I spend enough, I might drop to 3.5 billion. Oh my god. Bruh, I'm worth so much money. Yeah, okay, I'll give you just a tiny teeny fraction after I ran it up off of your people. I'm just saying here. Okay, now, let's get back to the videos, okay? We only got 3 more.
How would we know that if a racist white person comments the N-word on your post, you guys get removed for hate speech? And that's how we're digitally erasing you guys in the modern era. It's never been easier. How would I know? The only reason I would know is because 100 white people called me an N-word lover yesterday and I had to sit there and manually delete it. I don't want to get my account removed. That's what my account got taken down for 2 days ago. And it just reaffirms why I'm so terrified to talk to white people. I always have been. First thing you learn as a white person in America is we
Are there other white people that be scared to talk to white people? Is that a thing? I don't know. I'm not white.
can burn down the world to be right about it. We did. Also, we can get rid of any person who remembers our history. We did. Also, we can get rid of any book that talks about it. We did. Last year, we got rid of 10,000 books, right?
What? 10,000 books got removed? Hold on, let's look that up. What? 10,000 books removed. USA. Yes, according to PEN American's latest report, over 10,000 books were removed from U.S. public school library during the 2023-24 school year. This marks a dramatic increase from previous years and reflects a growing trend of book bans across the country. Key findings. These removals include both temporary and permanent bans. Top targets. Books by or about people of color, LGBTQ plus individuals, and women were disproportionately affected. Concentrated bans. About 8,000 of these bans occurred in just 2 states, Florida and Iowa, which have law restricting content related to sex, gender, and LGBTQ themes. Okay. Most banned author was surprisingly Stephen King was identified as the most banned author. Okay, so he is right on that. I just wanna see something real quick. Sorry. Talk about the pros. Right, come on, the pros. Let me do here. Corporations. I meant to finish this off. Some well-known companies profited directly from slavery. These corporations. Brooke Brothers supplied clothing for enslaved people, which was used as a form of reward by slaveholders. Who is the Brooke Brothers? Let's see. Search the web. for the Brooks Brothers. I don't even know who they are. Okay, so I guess they sell clothes, so they profited from slavery. The Brooks Brothers supplied clothing for enslaved people, which was used as a form of reward by slave owners. The Lemon Brothers started as a cotton brokerage firm in Alabama, profiting from slave-produced cotton. Let's see who they are. Let's look them up. So you see this sign, they profited from slavery. Now, that don't mean that people in today's time are evil because they work at this corporation. It just shows that if you want to catch them, this is how they came up. They came up off profiting off of slavery. Norfolk Southern Railroad benefited from slave labor in early railroad construction. So if you are ever wondering, well, how can I ever catch up to get my own railroads? Well, they had to profit off of slaves. That's how they did it. Okay? Now, back to the videos.
Either way, it's important to remember that our power is built on an illusion, right? It's based off of torture techniques like the slave trade or what is Indian removal. Andrew Jackson called it Indian removal, the Trail of Tears, we can say. And now we do for-profit prisons and immigrations and customs. But power now comes directly from the erasure and our performance of victimization after we created the atrocities. This is why I consider most white people to be a little bit sociopaths, right? We've been performing this for so long that it's our greatest survival instinct. And it's born out of the projection of our horrors and atrocities. It's like how we prevent reparation. Manufacture consent with propaganda. We say woke police. We say war on Christmas. We say Trump derangement syndrome, right? Like the New Age drapetomania. And even the Israeli occupational force, right? We say defense force now. In the future, that's an occupational force. In the future, the war on Christmas is still just corporate Christian colonialism. And we only have one word for the victimization we cause, and it starts with geno and it ends in side because it's the only way to prove that we're chosen. Lastly, I think I can say the natural tendency of Western colonial settler states to create ethnostates and militarize their youth is the inevitable path any nation state would take if it persecuted their own citizens. Have a good day. All right, black creators, how would we know? How would we know that if a...
All right. Do y'all agree or disagree? Europeans, let me know. Black people, let me know. Please jump in the comments and let me know. How do you feel about what he just said? Because he said a lot, and I know it's a lot to digest there. But he was accurate. He was pretty accurate. He was throwing a little satire in there that made me laugh. But he was definitely telling the truth. Now, let's get to the next video. Because I'm time consuming here.
With white pride?
Oh, what'd she say?
Want to explain to me what's wrong with white pride?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Where are you from? Ireland, Germany, Spain. Where's your family from? Right? We're from Ireland. I have Irish pride, like a motherfucker. I am wicked proud to be Irish. Even though I'm like 4th generation. I bet you know where you're from. And I bet you're proud to be from there. So, you can have pride of your heritage. Why are you trying to have pride of your skin color? Now, the reason that black people are proud to be black is because we took their heritage from them, and they don't necessarily know which country in Africa they're from, or what village, or what tribe. We took that from them. So they don't get to have that Nigerian pride or South African pride, because we stole their heritage. Yours didn't get stolen.
Can someone explain to me what's wrong with white pride?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Where are you from?
Dang, she said we stole their heritage. She ain't say we conquered or that's just the way. Nah, she said it plain. Europeans, how do y'all feel when y'all see Europeans say this? Do y'all agree with her? Do y'all disagree? I'm truly intrigued here. Like kind of how some be intrigued with black on black crime. I'm intrigued at when white people say this. How do other white people feel when they look at this? Maybe I should look at the comments. I mean, it's a bunch of black people. This is the best way I've ever heard it explained. Let her cook. Best explanation ever. Well said. Thank you, Queen. And why is it so hard? Blah, 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 blah. No, I want to hear some of my comments because, you know, it'll be easier for me to keep up. Okay, let's knock out this last one, okay? And I'll come back. I got more content.
But they lost because they're too good of people. If you've ever
Let's start.
The Native Americans could have won the war against the colonizers, but they lost because they're too good of people. If you've ever studied Native American history or read books like An Indigenous Peoples History of the United States or Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, you find out very quickly that the Native American people were absolutely amazing people. You see how incredible and capable and fierce these people were. And at some point you begin to ask yourself, how did they lose? Especially when they won so many battles against the US government. And every time the government would lose, they would ask for peace, they would sign a treaty, and then immediately break that treaty. But when you see how many battles the Native Americans won against US soldiers, you just have to ask yourself, how did they lose? And the reason is because they were too good of people. Because even though their warriors were better than the US soldiers, even though they were better strategists than the US soldiers, the reason they lost is because they don't have evil in their heart. They didn't have hatred in their heart. They wouldn't resort to dirty tactics like starving people. They wouldn't resort to dirty tactics like hurting innocent women and children. Whereas the US Army would go into villages where they knew the men weren't there, and they would burn the teepees, and they would attack the women, attack the children. They would burn their winter supplies and starve them out. And the Native Americans didn't do this. Not only was it frowned upon in the Native American community to attack innocents, any of their tribe that did do it, they immediately turned on them. They turned on their own people, chastised their own people for committing those type of crimes. And this is ultimately what led to their defeat. Because when you're fighting an enemy that has no morals, how can you win if you actually have a heart? The Native Americans had a good heart. They had a moral compass that kept them from resorting to dirty tactics like the US Army would. And they were always willing to accept peace. They tried over and over and over again. Over 300 treaties were signed by the Native Americans in the name of peace, and the US government broke every single one of them. And despite all the good in their hearts and all the time and time again that they showed how good of people they were, they still history remembers them as savages, even though the real savages, the ones really doing the scalping, was the American Army. They had such good hearts that they would go out of their way and at great cost to their own well-being and safety to protect innocents. And because they were such good people and they were willing to put themselves in harm's way to protect innocents, the US Army used that against them. And every time the Native Americans would come to the table for peace and sign a treaty in the name of peace, the soldiers would wait until the defenses of the Native Americans were down, and then they'd attack them anyway. Because who's going to hold them accountable? No one. It's just heartbreaking to realize that the reason why the Native Americans were almost completely wiped out, the reason they lost all of their lands, all of their rights, all of their true freedom, because they had true freedom, the reason they lost all of that is because they were such good people, because their hearts were actually good and pure, and it cost them everything. The Native Americans could have won.
Now, Europeans, Native Americans, blacks, anybody really. But how do y'all feel about that? Please let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. I'll be posting this video. I got some more videos, some more content on the way, and hopefully everybody stay blessed and have a great day. It's always about discussion for me. I just love to get the content out there, and it's better when talking about race to hear other people of the race speak the talking points for us. Do you attack? Like, I want to see, like, how does that work for y'all as well? So please, hopefully you was able to learn something from this, and we can have some camaraderie, and I'll be back with tons of more content, of course, and I'll see you